But what is most galling of all is the wordplay. Bonjour tout le monde.
Hello, everyone up there.
That they use to justify it all. They say, we're not spending, we're investing. Now, this sounds like a new buzzword, but it's actually very old. The Prime Minister Justin Trudeau claimed that he was going to invest when he promised a small deficit of $10 billion that would be gone in 3 years. Remember that? He said the budget would balance itself. Now, I don't say that derisively because he actually had a well-thought-out chain of steps that he believed would happen. He said, if you borrow money and you spend it in the economy, it will cause economic growth and investment that will then go back into tax revenues and the budget will balance itself. That is, he didn't express it in those sorts of terms, but that's what he meant. And that's exactly what the Prime Minister today is promising. He's claiming that deficits can be converted into investment. Well, there's 3 reasons why that never happens. First of all, and by the way, you don't have to take my word for it. The investment numbers themselves are clear. Since the government started adding new debt, investment in Canada has collapsed. We had the worst investment per capita of any country in the G7 and the worst drop in Canadian history as the Liberals doubled deficits. So there is a negative correlation between deficits and investment. Why? First, everything comes from something. Nothing comes from nothing. Governments get deficit financing only 2 ways. They print it or they borrow it. If they print it, they increase the money supply faster than the things money buys and you get inflation. We've seen that. Or they borrow it out of the marketplace. That somebody has to lend it, meaning the money that is lent to the government cannot be put to other more productive uses. This is called the crowding out effect. That's what economists call it. It's when government borrows money out of the economy, depriving the private sector of the investment that it needs for more productive activities. And therefore, when government borrows out of the economy in order to spend back into the economy, there is no net increase in economic activity. It is simply redirected to another purpose, away from productive private sector investment towards unproductive government spending. And so you take money away from factories, pipelines, warehouses, tech research, and other income-generating assets to give it to bureaucracy that ultimately devours the money and never produces a return. Now, we saw this. The most incredible example, of course, was in Israel, which was running massive deficits in the 1990s and paying out 6% interest on its government bonds. This starved the Israeli economy of investment. When the government finally stopped spending, balanced its budget, investment in the tech sector exploded because bondholders were forced to actually invest in productive R&D rather than passively handing their money over for a government-guaranteed return. And as a result of paying down debt, they unlocked more investment, and there was a venture capital boom that meant that right now Israel has more companies trading on the NASDAQ exchange than does all of Europe, a continent with 75 times more people. So if we want to unlock investment, one of the things we need to stop doing is borrowing that investment out of the economy. Instead, leave it in the hands of productive private sector investment that will grow and expand our economy. The second reason, la deuxième raison pour laquelle
The second reason why deficits aren't investments, because the deficit of today is the taxes of tomorrow, and every person in business knows that. When people see these huge deficits, when they hear about it in the news, they start to believe that in the future they will have to pay more in taxes, so they start saving, just in case. When the government increases spending, the consumer, the investor, and businesses invest less in the economy.
Why governments' deficits don't produce more investment and economic activity as well is because people are not stupid. They know that today's deficits are tomorrow's taxes. And so businesses and individuals tend to hoard their money in anticipation of future tax increases when they see that there are large-scale deficits in the present. This has been borne out by research by the IMF, which found that high-debt countries like Canada with high deficits tend to have households holding back on investments of their own, and the same goes for business. The only reason why money-making projects do not happen in Canada is not because we aren't spending and borrowing enough money. It's because the government is standing in the way of those very same projects. What it needs to do is get out of the way. Get out of the way. Get out of the way and let mines be dug in 2 or 3 years approval time. Get out of the way, approve pipelines that can go to the coast so that we no longer have to give all of our oil to the Americans at discounts. Get out of the way, grant rapid permits for LNG plants, massive plants that are $30 or $40 billion, totally funded by the private sector and massively profitable because the price for a million metric British thermal units in Canada is $3, where in Asia it's over $10. We can make enormous amounts of money if the government will get out of the way and let these things happen. But of course, that would be no fun for the government. Nobody wants written on their tombstone, "This here lies politician Smith. He got out of the way." They all want to say he built this thing, he built that thing with other people's money, right? And so it serves the ego of the politician to take the money out of the economy and put it back somewhere else, even though it costs enormous amounts, or to block this economic activity only to subsidize that same economic activity. You know, it's like the great President Ronald Reagan said, if a Liberal sees something that moves, they tax it. If it keeps moving, they regulate it. And when it stops moving, they subsidize it. Why not just do none of the above? Why not just get out of the way and let free people, entrepreneurs, workers, unlock their incredible natural potential to build, make, move, fix, develop, and invent things for all of us? That would be a much more sensible way to get investment. The Liberals have offered us nothing but managed decline. We want national renewal. They've offered excuses. We, as Conservatives, offer results. They offer debt and drift. We offer discipline and direction. They offer scarcity. We offer possibility. They offer a failed past. We offer a bright future. They trust only in themselves to run the lives of other people. We trust in the Canadian people to make their own decisions for themselves.